Alright, TC, Chain Circular 9237. Chapter 9, Maintenance Welding Operation for Military Equipment. Scope. This chapter contains the information necessary to determine the size of the welding job of the proper welding process of the military. Items Appendix A contains the reference and formal to DA publication covering additional equipment used for the military item and the other equipment that comes with the standard welding procedure set forth in other chapters of this manual. Appendix A contains with the reference form and the DA publication covering additional equipment used by military personnel, which is not included with the chapter. Welding technique for the equipment contained with the high yield strength, low L structural seals such as TI using the bulldozer blade of the armor heavy construction roll work covered in chapter 12 and section 7 of circular. 9.2. Sizing up of the job. General. All the materials used for the manufactured material of the military material of the assembled equipment are thoroughly tested before material of the issue for the service in the field. Therefore, most of the damage to the failure of the equipment are due to accident overloading on shocks, for which if the equipment is not designed to withstand it is in class for the prepared to work with the field service welding is usually utilized more frequently. B. Determination of weldability. Before remaining in any damaged material, it must be determined whether or not the material can be satisfactorily welded with determination based on the factors listed below. Determine the nature of the extent of the damage amount of the trading. Filling of the metal will be required to determine the possibility of restoring structure to usable condition without the use of the welding. Determine the type of the metal used for the damage of the part with which of the heat material of the so the what heat treatment was used. Determine that the welding heat will be stored in the shape of any manner with the physical property of the part to be repaired. Determine the heat treating of the other equipment and materials will be required in order to make the repair by welding. Repair by heat-treated parts. In emergency cases, some of the heat-treated parts can be repaired by the heat-treated condition welded with stainless steel electrodes containing 25% of the chromium, 20% nickel with the 18% chromium, 8 nickel containing magnesium polyide. These electrodes will produce satisfactory weld with a narrow zone with the base metal with the vicinity of the weld will be affected with the heat welding zone. Minor defects of surfacing heated treated part with the must be repaired with either hard surfacing abrasive depending on their application of the surface and any of the repair heat treated parts with the loss of some of the strength of the hardness and stuffness even though the welded metal deposit has good properties. For the preferred metal, repairing treated steels when practical requiring annealing, broken part with welding and the heat strength rod with the weld method produces welded joint that can be heat treated with the entire part where it shall be heat treated after welding to obtain with the properties originally found in the welded parts of the method shall not be attempted unless the proper heat treating equipment is available. 9.3. Identifying metal. Welding repair should not be made until the type of the metal with the component with the section repair with determined the information can be obtained with the previous experience with a similar metal with the testing procedures described in Chapter 7 to form the assembly drawings of the component with these drawings should be carried with the maintenance company for the field and show how the type of the material of the heat treatment of the part. 9.4. Dynamic determining weldability park. Welding operation ordnance material for the restrictedly larger to those of the parts essentially physical property not impaired with the welding heat. Successful welded repairs cannot be machine parts with the carry with the dynamic load with apply with particular high alloy steels. They are heat treated with the hardness, toughness, and bolt. The gear shaft with the anti-friction bearing spring with the connection rod with the piston rod with the piston valve with the cams are considered to be unsuitable field welding because welding heat alters and destroys the heat treatment of these parts. The selecting of the proper welding procedures. Using welding equipment application for the process of the different with the metal with the covers with the other chapter with the spanning with the working with the knowledge of the process of the metal with the necessary before welding procedure again given them to join job can be selected which has been decided with the component of authority that has been repair made by welding factors outlined below must be considered. Proper type of side with electrode with tie with a current and polarity setting must be determined if the arc welding process is used with the gas welding process with the proper type of the welding rod correct brass pressure tip of the pipe proper size flux and flame adjustment must be determined. Repairing edges of the plates of the parts of the be considered with the proper cleaning with the beveling of the parts of the joint must be considered with the need of the backing of the strips, quenches, plates, and tack welding preheating must be determined. Reducing warping and internal stress required with the use of the proper sequence of the welding control of the proper distribution, welding, heating of the spacing of the part of the permit with the sum of the movement of the control of the side location, the deposit welded metal beads, and proper cooling procedures. Military material is designed for lightness and safety factors are over the necessity of the light to some of the case of the necessity same of the reinforcement of the joint common strength of the shrink off of the welded part due to the welding heat. Reinforcement must be designed to be will provide with the required strength without the producing high local rigidity and excessive weight. 9.6. Preliminary precautions. Before beginning any of the welding cutting operation for the equipment, the safety precautions listed below must be considered to remove all aluminum, all ammunition from it and on both the vehicle, the material, the drain, the fuel tank, and clove the fuel, clove the fuel and oil tank shut-off valves. If the welding cutting is to be done on the tanks, prepare them for welding in accordance with the instructions in Chapter 2, Section 5. Have a fire extinguisher nearby. Keep the heat away from the optical elements and be familiar with the safety precautions described in Chapter 2 of the circular. And that was Chapter 9.